Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Global Script, where we cut through the noise and get to the heart of what's shaping our world. Tonight, we are diving into a seismic development out of Pakistan, a country sitting on a potential energy gold mine, and now at the center of a bold new deal with Donald Trump's America. Is this a game changer for Pakistan's economy or just another geopolitical chess move? Let's unpack it. Pakistan has long been known for its strategic location, but now its untapped energy reserves stealing the spotlight. According to the US Energy Information Administration, Pakistan holds an estimated 9.1 billion barrels of shale oil and a staggering 105 trillion cubic feet (TCF) of shale gas. Now add to that recent offshore survey at the Indus Basin hinting at a massive oil and gas deposits. And you've got a country that could rival some of the world's energy giants if that can get the job done. On July 30th, the US president announced a deal to partner with Pakistan to tap into what he calls as massive oil reserves. The agreement, brokered with Pakistan's visionary government, promises to bring in major US oil companies to unlock its potential. But that's not all. Pakistan is also getting a break on US tariffs. Previously, they were at 29% on its export, but plus cooperation in its mining and IT. And get this, also the cryptocurrency. Now, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Sardar called this a new era. Finance Minister says that it's a win for economic sovereignty. Donald Trump has cited that Pakistan will be able to sell oil to India. The same India that Trump just slapped with the 25% tariff for buying Russian energy. Well, that's not definitely a deal. That's a geopolitical jab. But let's focus on Pakistan. This government, led by Shehbaz Sharif, is betting big on energy to pull the country out of its economic rut. With 17.5 billion energy import bill just last year and 126 billion in external debt, Pakistan definitely needs this. The leadership says that this deal will create jobs, cut import costs, and maybe, just maybe, turn Pakistan into an energy exporter. Now, joining me live from Islamabad is the former Minister of Energy and the current Minister of Climate Change, but he has wore many hats. He has been the Minister of Petroleum, Minister of Climate Change, Minister of Energy, Minister of Water and Power. He has done a lot of jobs and he knows the energy sector like no other. I am joined by Mr. Musaddiq Malik. Dr. Saab, welcome to the show. Straight away to the first question. Dr. Saab, 30th July, we saw this amazing post coming from the official account of President of United States, Mr. Donald Trump, and he said that Pakistan has massive oil reserves and United States is going to help Pakistan to explore these reserves. Tell us exactly which reserves is he talking about?
You see, we carried out a study a few years ago. And as you might know, when you're exploring energy resources, particularly petroleum resources, there are three kinds of rocks that you're looking for. The first rock, which is called the source rock, is like the kitchen. And in this kitchen, over millions of years, hydrocarbons get brewed. So what we were able to find out through our research that went on for many long years is that an enormous amount of hydrocarbon reserve has been cooked in this kitchen over millions of years. So that's singularly the most important thing to find, because if you find the kitchen, the likelihood of the storage of that petroleum, whether it's a petroleum product, whether it's oil or gas, is in the neighborhood. So the second thing that you're looking for is the reservoir rock. And this is like a very spongy kind of a rock in which when from the kitchen, just like a pantry, if you have a kitchen, you want to store your stuff somewhere, you put a lot of your stuff in the pantry. And that pantry has a door, which is called basically the cap rock. And that door is locked. And the art of finding the reservoir or actual petroleum products is to look around the source rock and figure out where all it's stored and what is the door that gets you in that pantry. So right now, the information that we have is that over billions of years, not small, not minor, but enormous amounts of hydrocarbons have been cooked because it takes millions of years to cook these products and turn them into oil and gas. So somehow or the other, within the shores around the shores of Pakistan, within the Pakistani ocean space, we have found this source rock. I think now we need a lot of technology and we need a lot of investment to look around this source rock and figure out where the pantry is and where the door to the pantry is, so that we can penetrate, we can go into the store, and we can pull the oil reserves out. So I've tried to simplify.
Doctor, this is a very expensive and painstakingly long process, and even if the reserves are explored, it's a hellish task to bring them to the shore and then make them usable for the refineries. So, do you have an estimate that what number of barrels are we talking about, in billions or in millions or whatever we have explored so far? That the potential is there, and also tell me that whenever there is oil, there is also a reserve of a gas right next to it. So have you explored the potential for the gas reserves which are present over there?
So, to the best of my information, when you look at the source rock or you look at the kitchen, and I'm giving a very juvenile example to make sure that your audience can understand what we are talking about, you can't tell whether whatever hydrocarbon was there converted herself to oil or gas. So the possibility of gas is as much as the possibility of oil. Now you're absolutely right. It's expensive. It's expensive and high risk to look around for where it's stored or where that reservoir rock is. And that's basically where we're going to make the investments. But it's not something terribly unusual. It's not like it hasn't happened anywhere in the world. So all of these offshore rigs across the world that you see, that's exploring the hydrocarbons, the petroleum products offshore, which means within the ocean. So you build a platform, then you basically drill down to the bottom of the ocean, and you meanwhile send signals, geological signals, to see where the likelihood is the highest of finding that storage. And then you drill in. And every few feet that you drill in, you get the signals. And those signals tell you how close you are to where that storage of petroleum products is. So if you look at simply the kitchen, if you look at how much hydrocarbon was cooked, it is an enormous, not a marginal or large reserve, but the possibility of having hydrocarbons in Pakistani ocean space, the likelihood is enormous. However, it's still likelihood, and investment is needed, and some appetite for risk is needed. And I think what we've found from the United States is the support of perhaps some of the leading companies across the world that have the technology, that have the will, that have the investment, and that are willing to come to Pakistan and looking for that oil. They will benefit, and Pakistan obviously would benefit enormously. So that's what basically the statement of President Trump means.
United States is also one of the world's leaders in the exploration of the shale gas. And as you are, of course, the Minister of Energy, and you might be telling us way better that what are the Pakistani potential for the shale gas reserves. But what we have known through the independent sources and through the experts who are talking about the shale gas reserves in Pakistan, they talk about the estimation of 105 TCF, 105 trillion cubic feet of shale gas reserves in Pakistan. Do you think that with United States expertise, we can actually utilize them to explore the shale gas reserves which are inland, which are much more plausible and much more easier to explore?
So, first of all, a minor correction. Just up until a few months ago, I was the Minister of Energy. Now I'm the Minister for Climate Change. So I have looked at this issue from the Ministry of Power. I headed Ministry of Power many moons ago. So I've looked at this issue, the issue of energy, from the power perspective. I've also been the Minister of Petroleum, so I've looked at it from the petroleum perspective. I've also been the Minister of Water Resources, so I've looked at energy from the hydro energy perspective. So I've looked at it from all perspectives. And now what we're trying to do in climate change is to look at all of these issues in a manner that allows us to build our energy reservoir in a sustainable manner. So just a minor correction of titles. Okay. Now, having said that, Pakistan, of course, has reservoirs or reserves or projected reserves of shale. But shale is a different technology from drilling, straight deep in. It's almost like horizontal drilling. And Pakistan doesn't have a lot of that technology. We have tried it in a few wells, and we've tried it successfully. We have successfully drilled out what we call tight gas, and we've also done a few very good, very successful projects of shale gas with the assistance of the United States, which has the world's cutting-edge technology for shale. I think our likelihood of pulling out shale in a commercially viable manner, those prospects significantly go up. So it's not just having shale, it is also extracting shale in a manner that it's commercially viable. And I think with the support of the United States, particularly the companies that have an expertise in shale gas and horizontal drilling, I think our prospects of commercially pulling up commercially viable or shale gas in a commercially viable manner, it goes up significantly.
That's one way to put it. But since you have, just like you said, that you have been in the Ministry of Petroleum and to the Ministry of Energy, and you might be knowing that we just adjacent to Sui, we have this field of Kolu, and potentially it was said that it might be twice the size of Sui. Any progress do we have from the conventional sources of the natural gas do we have over there?
I think we're continuously working, and we've come up with a very aggressive regime which incents the private sector to do these explorations. But as I said, broadly speaking, hydrocarbons is a high risk, high reward game. So every single time you drill a hole, and assuming that it's not shale kind of horizontal drilling, you basically are placing a bet of $20 to $30 million, sometimes even more, or sometimes a little less. So you need to have a lot of appetite of making investments and sometimes not finding much and often finding a lot of hydrocarbons. So our geology is quite fertile. Our projected, the areas where we think the prospects are very high, we've already identified. We've come up with a very aggressive and a very what I would say a lucrative regime for the private sector to come and invest in Pakistan's energy. So we're very hopeful that not just in this one geography that you've identified, but in many more geographies, and also some geographies in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, I think the prospects are very high onshore, both for conventional hydrocarbons as well as for shale.
Doctor, this discussion definitely needs a break here. We'll be right back and we'll resume discussion over here. Thank you so much. Keep watching Ocean News. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and let's go live again to Dr. Musaddiq Malik, who's joining us from Islamabad. Okay, Dr. Saab, let's, from the perspective of a person who's just sitting in the government, I want to ask you one question. What exactly should we be celebrating after Donald Trump's this announcement that he is going to ask the American companies to look after this whole drilling and the oil exploration process? I mean, this project is going to be expensive. This might be billions of dollars. I mean, the recent estimation, when the previous government it was done, it was estimated to be a $5.3 billion project. Who's going to take care of that? What exactly shall we be celebrating? Is American companies going to come and take care of the finances from the Pakistani side, or are they going to have a share? Or what exactly impact it will be having on Pakistani economy?
I think we have a lot to celebrate. If I were to return the question to you, I would say, what should we not be celebrating at this time? I mean, the military success that we recently had, is it not worth celebrating? I mean, we defeated an army which was 3 to 4 times our size and was investing 6 to 7 times the amount of money. And look at the kind of success that our armed forces were able to achieve. And that has made us all proud. particularly expats. I traveled across the world, and for the first time, I saw our expat brothers and sisters beaming. It's as if we have the confidence, we have success, we have a sense of pride and identity all of a sudden. So I think there's a lot to celebrate there. I think if you look at the diplomatic success that we had in the previous wars that we've had, you've always seen that about three-fourths of the world always sided by our neighbor India, our enemy. This time around, did you find one country that stood by India?
That was Netanyahu, but I think like minds think alike. So yeah, probably probably the both have genocidal approach. So yeah, probably.
Yeah, but they have very similar doctrines. They're very similar doctrines of hegemonic ideas. And if you look at, for example, just the way Netanyahu has kind of tried to use unilateralism to destroy not just Gaza Strip, which is genocide, but also Syria and Lebanon, and subsequently the attacks on Iran, and so on and so forth. But the exact same design was being followed by India. But look at how devastatingly India failed on all accounts, on the military front, and also on the diplomatic front. So we went to the United Nations, we saw the world standing by us. We went to New York and DC, and we saw the State Department, and all of the other senators and congressmen stand by us. We went to Strasbourg, and we found Europe standing by us. We went to Brussels, and we had the United Nations stand by us. So basically, it was a very, very interesting story. I mean, we came on the back of military success, and our message was still peace. So we were coming from the position of strength and still talking about peace. And they were basically they designed this hegemonic principle. They went around and told the world a very bizarre story, the smoke and mirror story of we have.
Yeah, we just recently heard this chocolate story, and now Pakistani chocolates are. I mean, now they are a threat. They are a global threat. Okay, so please continue, sir. Please continue.
Sad, but it's almost like now they're looking for candy wraps to try to prove their point. And the world is not organized like that. I think Pakistan showed a lot of responsibility.
But my question, Dr. Saab, my question is about the Donald Trump's tweet in which he has claimed that this is going to be a new era of economic cooperation. What exactly are we looking at? What exactly should we be celebrating about that tweet? What's coming in Pakistan?
Systematically walking you through the military success, and then the diplomatic success, and now the economic success. Let me first answer your question directly, and then I would talk about.
Yeah, sure. Please go on. Please go. Take as much time as you want. You're an eloquent speaker.
That's very kind of you. So if you look at this, you just said yourself that billions of dollars worth of investments should be forthcoming if the American companies, oil and gas companies, get interested in Pakistan. And who could be a bigger champion than the President of the United States for the Pakistani cause? I mean, he's raised the issue of Kashmir some 30 odd times. He has already made an announcement that he's going to give us a very favorable trade deal. We already have about $6.5 billion worth of trade going on with the United States. Imagine it doubling. Imagine it tripling. And you can imagine what kind of economic impact and what kind of employment generation impact is it going to have on Pakistan. So that's the first thing. The second is the investments. And you yourself just stated billions and billions of dollars that could be forthcoming in the way of investments in Pakistan just in oil and gas. But oil and gas is not, or energy is not the only thing that he spoke about. He also spoke about minerals. And if you look at the world, the biggest revolution that is brewing in the world is the revolution of electrification. And what is the infrastructure for electrification? Copper and minerals. And what does Pakistan have? Pakistan is on the Tahian belt. So Pakistan has some of the world's largest reserves of minerals and metals, particularly of copper and gold. So if if the world wants to benefit from electrification revolution, and you see that in the way of EVs, electrical vehicles, and electrical services, and energy sources moving towards electrification, everything is getting electrified. So if the world were to ride that revolution, then very clearly, then they would need the raw material, which is copper from Pakistan. So Donald Trump has not just spoken about investing in the energy sector or petroleum sector. He's also mentioned investments in the minerals and mining sector. And mining sector, mind you, is very labor intensive, which basically means in the remotest areas of Pakistan, particularly Balochistan, areas which have been left behind in this race for development. I think it's a tremendous opportunity because we'd be able to build equitable development. And maybe the rising star and the shining areas of Pakistan in times to come would be Balochistan and some of the mining areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So that's very refreshing. That's fantastic. They'd be building communities, they'd be building water resources. So it's not just extracting dust and sending it out to the Western world. We also have a strategy that we're calling dust to development. So we are going to incentivize companies not just to come and do mining, but also to build mining clusters. So if you have copper, you're going to build cables. If you have aluminum, you're going to build engine blocks, or you're going to build brake assemblies. So all of those equipments, all of those downstream activities, which are related to copper and other metals, and we found some traces of lithium, although we have not found big reserves. So if we find lithium as well, which is going to be the battery solution of the world, and we have already found copper, which is the electrification revolution, once the world comes together, because the US companies, which are leaders, they come forth and begin to invest not just in mining, but also in downstreaming and creating industrial clusters in Balochistan and surrounding areas, you can begin to see the shape of the revolution that is going to brew. And that is not and that is not all, because what they've also spoken about is technology. And what you used to call technology is now machine learning and AI. So Pakistan is already, the Prime Minister of Pakistan has already announced that he is going to send hundreds of thousands of students to get trained in machine learning and artificial intelligence. And the US president has already indicated, because there's an enormous demand for data sciences, for artificial intelligence, for machine learning, and they have already said that they would like to collaborate with Pakistan. So look at the youth in Pakistan. Look at the potential that they have if basically they were to be trained in technology and not traditional IT, but in machine learning, data sciences, and AI, which is going to be applicable to everything, even journalism. Journalism is going to be disrupted. It's already getting disrupted with
the YouTubeization of journalism, should I call it?
All of these things together.
That's a huge impact. You're talking about a massive impact. Definitely, and that's how we can make sense of this statement that it's a beginning of a new era of economic cooperation. But having said that, I've lived in Khyber Regency for 7 years, and I've seen how brutally do we murder our minerals over there. The marble, the Khyber Regency has probably one of the most top class and super white marbles in the world. They're literally blasted off, and the rocks have got the huge cracks in them, and then they are loaded on the trucks without any safety harnesses and everything. And by the time they are cut into tiles, they've got a huge large cracks in them, and that's why they are unexportable. They are domestically consumed. And it's just not about marble. It goes to the coal mining in Balochistan, that people are literally mining coal through the pickle and sickles. This is ridiculously old age technology, probably which was used in the later 19th century. Do you think that with the influx of all these mining giants jumping into the Pakistani mining scenario, do you think that Pakistani labor force needs to be pepped up for that? And it's time for people, for the investors, and for the public, for the masses to know about their mining literacy.
I think it's not just something that is going to happen. It is something that is already happening in Pakistan. Look at Reko. If you go to the largest, one of the largest, fourth or the fifth largest copper mine of the world, When you go there, the mining is beginning. We're moving on with that process. But the first thing that you would notice are the schools that are being built. Because as a part of the deal with Barrick Gold, which is the company with which Pakistan has collaboration, the first thing that they're doing is building up schools and skills development programs there. And it's not like they will or they shall, they already are. They're setting up clinics, they're setting up hospitals. They already have basically alliance, I think, with Indus Group in Karachi, I think.
Yeah.
They also have an alliance with one of the largest school not-for-profit organization to build schools in that area, in the Chagi area. They're already committed to providing water resources, safe drinking water to the communities there. So when you're doing mining, you're not just doing mining, you're bringing a whole new social revolution in that particular area. And that's why you don't see any untoward activity in the area that surrounds Reko Diq, because people have ownership. The tribals have ownership. The tribes have ownership. The tribal leaders have ownership. The Pakistanis have ownership. And our friends who are investing with them, they have ownership. So when you look at what is already happening, not what may happen, and you start to transport it, or you try to basically transpose it onto the other areas where we have mining resources, whether they be precious jewels or they be marbles, when larger investments come and these people who've just learned the art of blasting because for generations their forefathers have been doing it, when laser cutting kicks in, when the precious stones start to get cut, not just be pulled out from the rocks, but also get cut and polished in Pakistan, there's a lot of value addition. You see a stone which is just
Musaddiq Sahab, that's for the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and yes, in the time of the Awami National Party, they dedicated their whole ministry, the mining ministry, to encourage people to have excellence in the gem cuttings. And still in Peshawar there are a lot of markets where there are experts about gem cutting, but when we talk about minerals, we are not focused on Khyber Pakhtunkhwa alone. We are talking about Balochistan, and when we talk about Balochistan, there is a situation going on over there in which previously we believed that there was only one player, which was India, which was supposedly financing the BLA and the BNA and all the other factions which are in there. But now, ever since the document has come out, we now know that Israel is also involved in there, and they're establishing mining industry in Balochistan can become a challenge. How do your government address that?
I mean, I think you've already given the answer in your questions. First of all, I'd like to make a distinction. I'm sorry I tried to cut you. But I want to make a distinction between Pakistani government deciding to do something and international investors coming and making investments in that particular area. It's one thing to come up with polishing and cutting industry, which is indigenous, but it's a whole different thing when the world's best designers, when the world's best basically cutters come and set up their shops in Pakistan and train Pakistanis. That's like not just about cutting and polishing. It's also about design. It's about diffusion of technology. It's about diffusion of tacit knowledge systems, about new business models that Pakistanis are not used to, are not aware of. It's about getting plugged into the global value chains. So when you get plugged into global value chains, using the world-class business models, deploying the technology that we currently don't have, then our desire to cut and polish versus playing along this value chain becomes an entirely different thing. And you can transpose now, and we can move to Balochistan. And the example that I've given you, what is the biggest defense against some neighbor or some external enemy trying to create disruption in your country? It's your people, it's the ownership of your people. Because the army will defend the boundaries, but within the boundaries, what you need is this zeal and sense of patriotism and a sense of identity. And I think through the kind of programs that are coming forth, through this mining revolution, what we are doing is trying to give a great sense of pride and a great sense of identity and a great sense of loyalty from the people of Pakistan. And that is the biggest defense that we are going to have against anyone trying to get in and trying to send kind of people from neighboring countries, trying to do disruption. I mean, if you look at the United States, where I believe you're based, there's a police, but there's also neighborhood watch. So what we're building through this revolution, this mining revolution, is neighborhood watch, where people also come out and defend their country, defend their children, defend their infrastructure, defend their metal, defend their precious stones, defend their industrial infrastructure, where their daughters, where their sons and daughters alike are going to get employment, defend their schools, which are basically the level playing field of opportunity. I mean, when in Chagi did we have the kind of schools that we're building there? When in Chagi did we have the kind of hospitals that we're building there? Once the road is there, once the road, safe drinking water is there, once the education and technology is there, once technological training is there, once healthcare infrastructure is there, people would have great pride and they would repel. They would repel anyone who tries to come into their communities and destroy their communities. So I think we're building, I would venture out to say, probably a superior line of defense. Our borders are safe. Our armed forces has already shown that they can repel any external incursion. But from within, now we're building the second and the third and the fourth wall of defense, which is the people of Pakistan. And that comes when people feel that they have an equal stake in opportunities, in wealth creation, in development. And that's exactly what's happening with this mining revolution. And the same thing will happen, whether it's shale or it's traditional drilling, because when you go into a community, through the programs that we have, these oil companies first have to invest in the community. They give the money. There's a certain, and it's not like optional. They have to. It's according to the law they invest in those communities. So if you put all of these pieces of jigsaw together, in the remote areas, when you look at the mining revolution in Balochistan, when you look at the gems revolution in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and marbles and oil and gas, when you look at the offshore revolution in terms of these offshore rigs, when you look at machine learning and AI revolution, which is going to brew in the urban areas of Pakistan, you begin to see how the remote areas of Pakistan are going to develop, how the urban areas of Pakistan is going to get plugged into the global value chains, and not just marginal value chains. AI and machine learning are the highest order value chains and the most lucrative value chains. And you don't even need a visa to go anywhere to do that. You live in your own community. You take care of your aging parents. You can put your children through school and you're earning dollars by plugging yourself.
And it's an absolute pleasure to have you on our show, Dr. Saab. You're truly insightful and definitely you have the in-hand knowledge of this field. So definitely, it's an absolute honor to have you, and we'll keep you having again, because there's a lot of unhinged discussions which we need to close and which we need to debate on. Thank you so much for joining in, and inshallah, we'll see you again. That's all from the Global Script, ladies and gentlemen. Time for goodbye, but keep watching Ocean News.